It's a chilly Monday afternoon, the kind where your breath fogs up the air and the smell of freshly ground coffee lingers long after you leave the cafe. I'm sitting in my usual spot by the window of the Roasted Bean, a small, cozy coffee shop tucked away in a quiet corner of town. The place is warm, with the soft hum of conversation and the comforting clink of mugs on wooden tables. I'm halfway through my latte when I hear it, a hushed voice, barely audible over the smooth jazz playing through the speakers. He doesn't know yet, but he's the next one, the voice whispers. The whisper comes from the barista station, where two workers lean in close. Emma, the girl who's been working here since forever, is the one who spoke. Her friend, a tall, lanky guy with tired eyes, looks at her with a mix of worry and amusement. "Are you sure?" he asks, his voice just as low. Emma nods, her eyes darting around the shop. They don't land on me, but I still shrink in my seat, feeling the sudden urge to vanish. "It's his turn. The rules are the rules," she says. I take another sip, trying to calm the sudden tightness in my chest. What game? What rules? I want to convince myself that I'm misinterpreting this, that it's just some harmless joke or an inside reference. But there's something in Emma's voice, a hint of dread that makes my heart race. Why do I feel like they're talking about me? The conversation continues, but I can't make out the words. I feel a drop of sweat run down my back despite the cold air. The room feels different now, warmer, claustrophobic. The shadows seem darker, like they're leaning in listening just like I am. I try to focus on my breathing, telling myself it's nothing. I'm being paranoid, right? I've always had a vivid imagination, prone to spiraling. But then Emma's gaze locks onto mine, and my stomach drops. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. The smile is all wrong. Run. That's the only word that flashes through my mind as I scramble to my feet, nearly knocking over my chair. But before I can take a step, Emma's friend, the tall guy with tired eyes, is suddenly in front of me, blocking my path. "Leaving so soon?" he asks, his voice casual, but there's a weight behind it. A warning. I force a laugh, my voice cracking. I just remembered I have an appointment. Emma moves closer, her footsteps silent on the polished floor. "You should start running," she says, her voice soft, almost sympathetic. "It's the only way you'll have a chance." I don't wait for more. My legs move before my brain can catch up, pushing past the tall guy, out into the crisp, biting air. The world outside feels sharp and too bright, and I keep running, feet pounding the pavement. But the fear doesn't fade. The certainty that someone, something, is watching me grows stronger with every step. I dart into the nearest alley, heart hammering. The shadows here are thick, swallowing the light. I try to catch my breath, leaning against a brick wall. "It's just a joke," I whisper to myself. "They're just messing with you." Then I hear it. Footsteps echoing through the alley, slow and deliberate. My throat tightens, and I clench my fists, the cold air biting at my skin. I turn around, expecting to see Emma or her coworker. But the alley is empty. Only the wind whistles through the garbage bins. "Next one," a voice whispers from behind me. I'm clutching a bag of popcorn, my best friend Alex beside me, as we step into the dim interior of the old Belmore Theater. It smells of stale popcorn and decades of dust, but there's something charming about it, the way the faded red seats glow under the dim, flickering lights. We're here for a special screening of some indie film neither of us has heard of. It's one of those spontaneous decisions we made over dinner, fueled by laughter and Alex's usual impulsive spirit. "You think we'll be the only ones?" Alex whispers, his voice bouncing off the hollow walls. I scan the rows of empty seats. The place is deserted, echoing with the ghostly sounds of past moviegoers, laughter, and murmured conversations that feel like they should still be there. "Looks like it," I reply, forcing a grin. "Perfect for a private viewing." We pick seats right in the middle, the best spot to catch every detail. As the lights dim further, the old projector whirs to life, and the screen flickers, bathing us in a hazy glow. I settle into my seat, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling of being alone in such a vast, empty space. The opening credits roll, and I lean back, waiting to be entertained. The film begins with a scene of someone walking through a city, the camera perspective jerky and raw, like a home video. I feel Alex shifting beside me, as if he's just as puzzled as I am. But then, as the camera focuses, my breath catches. That's me. Not someone who looks like me, but actually me. I'm in the shot, wearing the same black jacket I have hanging in my closet at home, the same scuffed sneakers. The street is when I walk daily on my commute, the way I always have my headphones on and my head down. The way I pause at that exact intersection, waiting for the light. What? Alex mutters beside me, but he doesn't sound amused anymore. He sounds worried. I'm frozen, trying to rationalize. Maybe it's just someone who looks like me. But the film keeps playing, the details growing impossibly intimate. The way I nervously bite my thumbnail when I'm deep in thought. The tear in the sleeve of my jacket from that one time I got caught on a fence. I swallow, hard, as my heart beats in my throat. Then the film takes a turn. The version of me on the screen is no longer walking to work. Instead, I'm standing in a crowd staring at something off camera. The frame zooms in, the focus tightening, and I realize that in the film, I'm not blinking. My eyes are wide, haunted, and fixed on something I can't see. The sound in the theater is distorted, warping into a low, droning hum. What the hell is this? Alex whispers. His voice cracks, and that cracks something in me too. The tension in the room feels suffocating, like the air is thickening around us. I don't know, I whisper back, gripping my bag of popcorn so hard it crumples. I really don't know. The next scene shows me in my apartment, doing mundane things, making coffee, scrolling through my phone, lying in bed. I know it's not possible. I know there are no cameras in my place. But the film catches every moment, every tired sigh, every time I toss and turn. The film me gets out of bed at 2 a.m., just like I did last night. Only on screen, when I look in the mirror, my reflection doesn't move. My hands start to shake. I feel Alex's panic beside me, the way he's breathing faster. We should go, he says, grabbing my arm. But before we can move, the doors at the back of the theater slam shut. A loud, echoing boom that sends a bolt of fear through me. I twist around, the dark expanse of seats behind us empty and yawning. My heartbeat is a drum in my ears. Did someone close the doors? I whisper. The film continues, showing scenes that haven't happened yet. I'm driving down a rainy highway, Alex in the passenger seat laughing. Then the laughter turns to screams as the car skids out of control. I can feel Alex's grip tighten on my arm, his nails digging in. That's not real. I whisper, but my voice is weak, uncertain. The way the car swerves, the crash that follows, it feels so real. Too real. On screen, Alex's lifeless eyes stare back at me from behind a shattered windshield. His hand, limp and broken, falls from the seat. I stand up, pulling Alex with me, our movements frantic. But as we race to the door, the film keeps playing, showing us scenes of what might come next. The way the shadows in the theater twist and ripple, the way something in the darkness watches us run. When we reach the doors, they won't budge. We're trapped, with only the flickering light of the screen and the heavy, suffocating sense that the worst is yet to come. My best friends, Kyle and Megan, insist it's the perfect way to escape the stress of the city. We park the car at the trailhead, the late afternoon sunlight slicing through the dense canopy above. It's quiet out here, with only the rustling of leaves and the occasional call of a distant bird. Kyle leads the way, phone out, tracking our path on some hiking app. Megan walks behind him, snapping photos of mushrooms and gnarly tree roots. I hang back, savoring the serenity, at least until we hear the sound. It's faint at first, just a distant echo through the trees. A soft, wet sobbing. I stop and the others nearly crash into me. Did you hear that? I whisper, my voice barely carrying through the forest. Kyle raises an eyebrow, about to make a joke, but Megan's face has gone pale. It sounded like a child, she says, her voice trembling. We stand in a tight cluster, the three of us, ears straining. The sobbing comes again, closer this time. My skin prickles. Everything in me screams that something isn't right. What kind of kid would be out here miles from the nearest road as dusk begins to fall? Kyle tries to laugh it off. Maybe someone's playing a prank. People get weird out here, right? But his voice cracks on the last word. We press on, because that's what you do when you're too afraid to admit you're scared. The sobbing grows louder, and then we see him, a small boy, maybe 8 or 9, curled up at the base of a tree. His back is to us, shoulders shaking. He's wearing a faded red hoodie, dirty and torn, and his hair is matted with twigs and leaves. Megan's motherly instincts kick in, and she steps forward before any of us can stop her. "Hey, sweetie," she calls out gently. "Are you okay?" The boy stiffens, his sobbing cutting off abruptly. The silence that follows is heavy, unnatural, and I swear the whole forest is holding its breath. Kyle's fingers brush mine, and I realize he's trembling. We both know something is deeply wrong, but Megan is already reaching out to the boy. He turns his head slightly, just enough for us to see his profile. His eyes are wide, haunted, and his lips part, but no sound comes out. Then he whispers, his voice hoarse, "They're coming back for me." Megan freezes, hand outstretched, as if she's touching something invisible and cold. "Who?" she asks, but the boy doesn't answer. Instead, his gaze shifts past us, deeper into the woods. The rustling starts. It's faint, a whisper of movement, but it's enough to send a bolt of fear through me. Kyle turns to look, his face draining of color. "We should go," he says, his voice shaky. I try to keep my breathing steady, to rationalize, but it's getting harder. The boy doesn't move. His eyes stay locked on whatever is coming from the shadows. Megan stumbles backward, rejoining our huddle, her hand clamping down on mine. Her grip is iron tight, and I can feel her pulse racing. "Let's get out of here," I say, voice cracking. We start backing away, never taking our eyes off the boy. He watches us, not crying anymore, just staring. The rustling grows louder, coming from all directions. Kyle fumbles with his phone, trying to find the trail on his app, but the screen glitches out, flashing and freezing. "What's wrong?" I hiss, my voice rising. Panic crawls up my throat, raw and burning. Kyle curses, slamming his phone against his thigh. "It's not working," he says, his voice breaking. The boy's head snaps back to us. "They're here," he says, almost a whimper. Then he bolts, disappearing into the underbrush like a frightened deer. Megan screams, and I grab her arm, pulling her with me. We run blindly, crashing through the undergrowth. The shadows seem to close in around us, and the rustling turns into a cacophony, 1,000 footsteps echoing through the trees. Kyle shouts something, but the words are lost in the chaos. My legs burn, my lungs ache, and all I can think is, we have to get out. We have to get out. The woods blur past, and then we burst into a small clearing. We stop, panting, chest heaving, and spin around. The rustling has stopped. The sudden silence is almost more terrifying. "Where is he?" Megan whispers, her eyes darting around. Kyle collapses onto the ground, clutching his knees, trying to catch his breath. I look back the way we came, but there's no sign of the boy or whatever had been following us. We don't stay long. We find the trail again, eventually stumbling back to the car with our hearts in our throats. No one speaks until we're safely inside, the doors locked, the engine roaring to life. We're in the middle of a sea of signs, voices blending into a chorus of demands, the kind that makes your chest tighten and your heart race. It's loud, chaotic, but electric. My best friend, Danny, has his camera raised, snapping photos of the protest, his passion, documenting moments that he hopes will inspire change. Our other friend, Laura, stands beside him, yelling chants so loud her voice will probably be gone tomorrow. "Think they'll run this on the news?" Laura shouts, barely audible over the clamor. I shrug, not sure if it even matters. We're here to make a statement, regardless of who listens. Then I notice him. Among the sea of people, there's a man who stands out. He's not holding a sign, not chanting, not even clapping in support. He stands stock still, hands in his pockets, with a calm expression on his face. His eyes are what get me, fixed, unblinking, and unsettlingly focused on us. I nudge Danny. "Check him out," I say, nodding toward the man. Danny lowers his camera for a moment, following my gaze. "Creepy, right?" I add, feeling a shiver crawl up my back. Danny's eyebrows knit together. Yeah, weird vibe. Maybe he's just watching. I try to shake it off, but the man doesn't look away. Even when we move deeper into the crowd, weaving between people and stepping over fallen protest signs, his gaze stays locked on us. I feel the heat of his stare pressing against my back, a constant, heavy presence. The protest starts to dissolve as dusk falls, the chants growing quieter as people scatter, the energy slowly dispersing into the streets. We're still in a huddle, Danny reviewing his shots on the camera while Laura texts someone about meeting up for a drink. I glance back over my shoulder, just in case, and my stomach twists. The silent man is closer now, lingering at the edge of the thinning crowd. He's still not moving, still not looking at anything but us. I can't help it. My voice shakes as I whisper, "Guys, he's still there." Danny looks up, and Laura pauses mid-text, frowning. "Are you serious?" Laura mutters. She turns, and the irritation on her face morphs into unease when she sees him. Okay, that's not cool. Danny raises his camera, more out of instinct than anything, and takes a quick photo of the guy. The flash illuminates the man's features for a brief moment, and I swear he doesn't even flinch. He just stands there, as if the camera doesn't bother him in the slightest. "Let's just go," I say, pulling at Lara's sleeve. We head toward the subway station, our conversation stilted, tension prickling between us. Danny keeps glancing over his shoulder, and I feel my pulse speed up every time he does. The station is half empty when we get there, the usual crowd thinned out this late in the day. We hustle down the stairs, and I try to shake off the feeling of being watched. It's quieter down here, with only the hum of trains in the distance and the echo of footsteps that don't quite sound like ours. Danny's phone pings, and he pulls it out to check. "What's wrong?" Laura asks, her voice brittle. Danny looks up, his face pale. "That picture I took of the guy? He's in the background of almost every photo from today." My hands go cold. "What?" He flips through the pictures, and there he is, the silent protester, sometimes in the distance, sometimes closer. Always watching, his face a blank mask, eyes dead and fixated on us. The earlier shots, the ones from hours ago, have him there too, just at the edge of the crowd. Laura grabs the phone from him, her fingers trembling. "What the hell is this?" Her voice wavers, the tough girl confidence gone. "He was here all day?" I try to come up with an explanation. Maybe he's just another protester. Maybe we didn't notice him before, because we weren't looking. But none of that feels right. The sense of dread sinks in, heavy and inescapable. The train arrives, and we jump on, the doors sliding shut behind us. I feel like I can finally breathe. The walls of the subway car a thin but reassuring shield. We sit in tense silence, trying to make sense of it. The train rattling along, rocking us with each turn. Then Lara's phone buzzes. It's a text, but when she looks, she pales even more. She holds it up for us to see. It's from a blocked number. The message says, "Nice shot. See you soon." My stomach drops. We look at each other, and no one says a word. The train keeps moving, but the tension coils tighter. My roommate Jenna and I are at a flea market, the kind that stretches endlessly through a dimly lit parking lot, filled with the smell of street food and the faint sound of an old rock band playing through crackling speakers. Jenna drags me from stall to stall, eyes wide with the excitement of finding hidden treasures. That's when I see it. A used phone sitting on a vendor's table, barely noticeable among the other dusty electronics. The price tag catches my eye, $20. My phone's been acting up lately, and even if it's temporary, this seems like a solid deal. The vendor, a wiry old man with gray stubble and tired eyes, hands it over without a word after I pay. As we walk back to Jenna's car, the sky darkening around us, I'm fiddling with the phone, setting it up. It looks clean, almost like it's barely been used. "Hopefully that thing works," Jenna says, giving me a skeptical glance. "You know how these flea market gadgets are?" I laugh it off, but there's something about the phone that makes my skin prickle. Maybe it's the way it boots up almost too quickly, or the way the screen flashes for a second before settling into its normal display. "I'm sure it's fine," I reply, trying to convince myself more than her. Back at our apartment, the phone buzzes in my hand, startling me. It's a text. I frown at the screen. The message reads, "Are you safe?" What the hell? I mutter, showing it to Jenna. She leans over, her brow furrowing. Who's that from? I scroll through the contacts, but there's nothing there. No saved numbers, no names. Just this empty, freshly reset phone. Probably a scam, I suggest, but there's a gnawing discomfort in my gut. Something feels off. I block the number and toss the phone onto the coffee table. We try to shake it off, putting on a reality show to drown out the unease. But a half hour later, the phone buzzes again. Another text. "You have to get out. They're coming." This time, Jenna goes pale. She reaches for her own phone. "Maybe we should call someone," she whispers, "but who would we even call? The cops? What would we say? That a used phone is sending cryptic messages." I pick it up, fingers trembling. Before I can think it through, I text back, "Who is this?" The reply comes almost instantly. "I'm the one they tried to erase." The words don't make sense, but the implication, something about the finality of that statement, makes my stomach drop. The air in the apartment feels thicker, pressing down on us. Jenna turns off the TV, her eyes darting to the windows, as if expecting someone to burst in at any moment. Another message buzzes in, and I nearly drop the phone. "Look outside your window." Jenna and I exchange a horrified look. Neither of us wants to move. My throat is dry, heart pounding like it's trying to escape my chest. Jenna grabs my arm. "Don't," she whispers, but I'm already standing, drawn by the invisible pull of fear and curiosity. I walk to the window, Jenna right behind me, her grip tight on my arm. The street below is quiet, washed in the orange glow of streetlights. But then I see it, a figure standing across the street, partially hidden by shadows. I can't make out the details, but they're holding something, a phone. My phone buzzes again. "He took everything from me. Don't let him do it to you." My voice shakes as I back away from the window. "Jenna, there's someone out there." She grabs her phone, panic setting in. "We're calling the cops. Now!" The figure doesn't move, just stands there, a silent, threatening presence. Jenna dials, explaining our situation as best she can, but her voice wavers, and I know she sounds just as crazy as I feel. The operator says they'll send someone to check it out, but I don't feel reassured. Something about the messages feels more real, more urgent. The phone buzzes again, but this time, the message is different. It says, "Check under the couch." I exchange a look with Jenna, both of us frozen. "Is this a joke?" she whispers, but we both know it isn't. My hands shake as I crouch down, lifting the edge of the couch skirt. What I find sends a jolt of fear through my entire body. There's a second phone there, a sleek black one with a cracked screen. I pick it up, heart racing, and the display lights up with notifications. Hundreds of them. Photos, videos, texts. The pictures show two women in an apartment that looks eerily familiar. I realize, horrified, that it's us. Photos of Jenna and me, taken from inside our own home. The latest text on that phone reads, "He's already inside." The front door creaks open, and both of us turn, terror blooming. The realization hits like a truck. We were never safe. I'm sitting in my cramped apartment, sipping lukewarm coffee while trying to keep my focus on the online class streaming on my laptop. As a high school history teacher, I've gotten used to the awkwardness of virtual learning. The screen is a wall, a barrier between me and my students, their small, square faces flickering as they half listen, half text or game, thinking I don't notice. "Okay, everyone," I say, trying to inject some energy into my voice. "Let's discuss the Treaty of Versailles. Who can tell me one of the conditions imposed on Germany?" A few students unmute, stumbling through answers. But one square, a black void with the name James T., stays silent, just as he always does. James has never turned on his camera. He never participates, never even types in the chat. Sometimes I wonder if he's there at all, or if the screen just serves as a ghostly placeholder, reminding me of how distant this way of teaching feels. I glance at the class list to see who else I can call on when I notice something strange. James's name is italicized, and beside it, a status message pops up. It says, "Waiting." I frown. What does that mean? I've never seen anything like it before. But before I can dwell on it, the next student starts speaking, and I have to pay attention. After class ends, I sit back, rubbing my tired eyes. Jenna, my fellow teacher and roommate, knocks on my door and peeks in. "How'd it go?" she asks, offering a smile that's meant to be reassuring, but only makes me feel more tired. "Fine," I say, even though it wasn't. I can't stop thinking about James. His silence, his non-presence, feels more sinister today for some reason. Jenna sits on my bed, munching on a granola bar. "You've been stressing about that kid, huh?" I nod. "I don't know, Jenna. It's just weird. He's always there, but never, there." She raises an eyebrow. "Maybe he's shy." I want to agree, but something nags at me. A feeling like a loose thread that needs pulling. "Yeah," I say, even though I don't believe it. Later that day, I decide to email James's parents. It's a routine check, nothing unusual, just to see if he's been struggling or needs extra help. I don't expect a reply, but within 10 minutes I get one, and the contents make me sit up straight. "Dear Miss Harris, we are confused by your message. James passed away 5 months ago in a car accident. We thought the school had been informed. Please let us know if there's anything else you need to confirm this." My stomach drops. I read the email again, my hand starting to shake. James dead? For 5 months? But he's still on my roster, still logging in every day. I want to believe it's a clerical error, some kind of bizarre glitch, but the email is too real, too raw with grief. I pull up the class roster, staring at James's black square. His name is still italicized. My heart thuds in my chest, hard and painful. I call Jenna into the room, needing someone to make sense of this. "James, he's dead," Jenna says, reading the email over my shoulder. Her face pales. "Then who's been logging in?" We sit there in stunned silence, both of us too freaked out to speak. I refresh the roster page, and my breath catches. James's square starts to flicker like a glitch in the system, and then his camera turns on for the first time. The screen shows an empty room, a cold, lifeless space with a desk and a bed made perfectly, the kind of neatness that belongs in a house full of people trying to pretend they're okay. The camera stays on, but nothing moves. Is this some kind of sick joke? Jenna whispers, her voice wavering, but she doesn't sound convinced. Then, in the bottom corner of the screen, the chat pops up. A single message. "More lessons." I click out of the class, heart pounding, my mind racing with panic. But the messages keep coming. "More lessons. Teach me. Please." The desperation in those words makes my throat tighten. Jenna grabs my hand, her grip cold and clammy. "This is insane," she says, and I can see her fear reflected in my own. But there's nowhere to run, no way to escape what's coming through the screen. The messages stop, and silence falls over the room, thick and heavy. Then my email pings. A new message from an unknown address. "You can't just leave. I still need to learn." Jenna's eyes widen as we stare at the screen. The room feels like it's closing in, the world outside impossibly far away. The air grows colder, and I swear I hear a whisper coming from my laptop speakers. James's black square is gone. The class roster has updated, but somehow it doesn't make me feel safer. It's nearly midnight, and the fluorescent lights of the 24-hour supermarket make everything feel sharper, almost surreal. I'm pushing a half-empty cart, trying to decide between two brands of cereal, while my younger brother, Ethan, is 2 hours over, begging me to hurry up so he can get home and finish his video game. "Come on, Alyssa," he whines, poking his head around the corner. His shaggy hair falls into his eyes, and he scowls. "We've been here forever." I roll my eyes. "We've been here 20 minutes tops." Still, the store feels eerie, too quiet for its size. The only other shopper is an old man moving slowly by the produce section, and the cashier looks half asleep at her station. Ethan shuffles back into my aisle, tugging at his hoodie sleeves. "Seriously though, can we just go? This place is giving me the creeps." He tries to laugh it off, but I can see the unease in his eyes, and it mirrors the feeling gnawing at my own nerves. I've always thought these late-night grocery runs were a bad idea, but we needed milk, and our parents wouldn't be home until morning. I toss a random box of cereal into the cart, giving in. "Fine, let's check out." As we turn toward the front of the store, the intercom crackles to life. The sound is jarring in the emptiness, and we both jump a little. The voice that comes through is distorted, echoing, and unmistakably robotic. "Attention shoppers. Alyssa Porter, please come to the front desk." I stop dead in my tracks. My name echoes through the store, wrong and chilling. Ethan's eyes widen, and he looks up at me, a nervous smile playing at his lips. "Is this a joke?" he asks, but he doesn't sound amused. I don't answer. Instead, I push the cart forward, trying to calm the sudden panic tightening my chest. It has to be a mistake. Maybe the cashier accidentally played a recording or something. But deep down, I know that's ridiculous. We reach the front of the store, but the cashier is gone. Her station is empty, the register light flickering. My mouth goes dry. "Hello?" I call out, my voice sounding small. There's no reply, just the buzz of the lights overhead. Ethan pulls out his phone, but I can see from his frustrated expression that he has no service. "This is messed up," he mutters. "We should just leave." He grabs my arm, and I nod, my heart thumping. We abandon the cart and make our way to the sliding glass doors. They don't open. I wave my hand in front of the sensor. Nothing. Ethan tries kicking at the door, but it stays locked. My pulse races, and I turn, trying to figure out what to do next. The store feels massive, each empty aisle a cavernous, silent void. The intercom crackles again. "Alyssa Porter, please come to the front desk. They're waiting for you outside." I feel the blood drain from my face. Ethan steps closer, his voice barely a whisper. "Who's they?" Panic surges through me. I grab Ethan's hand, pulling him toward the emergency exit at the back of the store. We sprint down an aisle, our footsteps echoing. The emergency exit is in sight, a heavy red door with a glowing exit sign above it. I slam into it, pushing hard. It doesn't budge. "What the hell?" I gasp, pounding on the door. Ethan joins in, and the two of us hammer at the metal until our hands ache. But the door doesn't give, and the store stays silent. Too silent, as if the whole building is holding its breath. Then we hear it, a low, dragging noise like something heavy being pulled across the floor. It's coming from the back of the store, near the darkened meat section. Ethan and I freeze, clinging to each other. The dragging continues, growing louder, closer. Ethan's grip on my arm tightens. "Who else is here?" he whispers, his voice cracking. I can't answer. My mind is racing, trying to make sense of what's happening. I pull out my phone, desperate to call for help, but my screen glitches, flashing erratically before going black. The dragging stops. The silence that follows is even more terrifying, stretching on and on. Then, from somewhere deep in the store, a shadow shifts. I don't see it clearly, just a flicker of movement, a suggestion of something large and wrong. I grab Ethan, and we back away, our breaths coming fast and shallow. "We have to hide," I say, my voice trembling. We run, ducking into an empty aisle filled with cleaning supplies. The shelves feel like a fragile barrier, but it's all we have. Ethan crouches beside me, his eyes wide with fear. The store is so still, the tension suffocating. A low whisper drifts through the aisles, soft and chilling. "Alyssa," it calls. "Come to the front desk. Don't make them wait." Tears sting my eyes. The voice sounds wrong, broken. I clamp a hand over my mouth to keep from crying out, and Ethan shakes beside me. We stay frozen, waiting, listening. Then, footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps moving through the store. They're not hurried. Whoever, or whatever it is, knows exactly where we are. I squeeze Ethan's hand, silently pleading for this nightmare to end. But the footsteps keep coming, drawing closer, until they stop just outside our aisle. Photography has always been my thing. I drag my friends, Chris and Mia, along with me on photo shoots, capturing forgotten alleyways or fields that stretch into the horizon. Today, we're at a small thrift store in the old part of town, rummaging through dusty shelves and bins. Mia picks up a sequin hat and strikes a pose. "Would this make me look more mysterious?" she jokes, and Chris rolls his eyes, laughing. I'm sifting through a box of old cameras, half listening, when I find it. An old Nikon, heavy and worn, the The leather strap cracked with age. Something about it feels right, like it's waiting for someone to breathe life into it again. How much? I asked the shop owner. He glances at it and waves his hand. $20. It's a relic. Mia scoffs. It's probably broken. I grin at her, holding up my prize. Only one way to find out. Later that day, we head to an overgrown park on the edge of town, where the old paths are cracked and weeds sprout through the playground equipment. The golden hour light bathes everything in a soft glow, and I'm in heaven, snapping shots of Mia leaning against rusted swings and Chris pretending to skateboard on cracked pavement. The camera works beautifully, the shutter clicking like a song. Chris and Mia are laughing, their voices carrying on the wind. For a moment, it feels perfect. Back home, I rush to develop the film in my tiny darkroom, eager to see the magic captured in those frames. As the first set of photos emerges, I smile. But then the smile fades. One photo stands out, and my heart skips. It's a shot of Chris, leaning against the old merry-go-round. But in the background, blurred and shadowed, there's a figure. Tall, dressed in black, standing perfectly still, just beyond the playground. I frown, leaning in closer. What the hell? I whisper. Mia peeks over my shoulder, munching on a bag of chips. What's wrong? I show her the photo, and her eyes narrow. Were we alone out there? Pretty sure, I say, my voice uneasy. But I can't shake the feeling of being watched, like the shadow in the photo is pressing into our space even now. Chris joins us, raising an eyebrow at our expressions. What's going on? We explain, and he laughs nervously. Dude, it's probably just a random jogger or something. But it doesn't feel like a random jogger. Something about the figure is wrong, like it wasn't meant to be there at all. I try to brush it off, convincing myself it's nothing. That night, as I lie in bed, my mind won't let go of the image. The darkness in my room feels thicker, pressing against my skin. I keep expecting to see the figure standing in the corner, watching me. The next morning, Chris texts, "Hey, check your photos again. See anything weird?" I frown, rereading his message. Mia calls, her voice frantic. "Check your camera," she says. "Now!" I grab the camera from my desk and flip through the shots. My heart stops. The photos are different. In every shot, the shadowy figure is there, clearer this time. Closer, standing just behind Chris, then beside Mia. The final photo is of me, hunched over, taking a shot, and the figure stands right behind me, a hand almost reaching out. I drop the camera, my pulse pounding. How? How is that possible? Mia demands. Chris sounds shaken when he calls a moment later. I swear I keep feeling like someone's watching me, he admits. Like, I can't even sleep. We agree to meet up to figure out what's happening. We huddle in my living room, camera and photos spread out on the table. The unease is palpable, a thick, suffocating thing that fills the air. Maybe it's a prank, Chris suggests, but his voice lacks conviction. Mia glares at him. Who would do this? And how? It's not funny. I take a shaky breath. Okay, let's test it. One more round of photos. If we see the shadow again, we'll know it's not a trick. We head to the park at dusk, nerves raw and jumpy. I raise the camera, hands trembling, and take a few shots. Every rustle of leaves makes me flinch. Every shadow feels like a threat. Mia and Chris hover close, their own fear bleeding into mine. When I develop the new photos, my hands are slick with sweat. The first image appears, a shot of Mia, her face pale with worry. The figure is there, standing in the shadows. The next photo shows Chris. The figure is now beside him, a hand resting on his shoulder. The last photo is of all three of us, taken with the timer. The figure stands in the middle, face obscured, but its posture, leaning, waiting, feels almost smug. I drop the photo. We need to get rid of it, Mia says, voice cracking. Chris grabs the camera. Let's destroy it. Burn the damn thing. But the camera feels heavy, unbreakable in my hands. And deep down, a cold dread takes root. Because I can't shake the feeling that it's too late. It's late on a Thursday night, and our apartment is alive with the sounds of game night. My roommates, Liam and Sophie, are sprawled across the couch, arguing over whose turn it is in a ridiculous board game we've been playing for hours. The kitchen counter is littered with empty soda cans and takeout containers. It feels safe, familiar, warm. Sophie rolls her eyes at Liam's antics. "You're cheating, I swear," she accuses, laughing. I'm half listening as I clean up, tossing garbage into a trash bag. That's when I notice it, a phone charger plugged into the wall near the living room floor lamp. I pause, frowning. "Whose charger is this?" I ask, holding it up. The room goes quiet. Liam and Sophie look over, both of them confused. "Not mine," Liam says. Sophie shakes her head. "I got mine in my room." I stare at the charger, unease prickling at the back of my neck. "Then whose is it?" Our apartment is a third-floor walk-up, secure and small. No one comes in without us knowing. It doesn't make sense. Sophie sits up, her playful grin gone. "Maybe one of our friends left it last weekend?" she suggests, but her tone is uncertain. The lighthearted atmosphere has shifted, replaced by something colder. I shrug, trying to laugh it off. "Yeah, probably." But my voice doesn't sound convinced, and I tuck the charger into a drawer. We try to get back to our game, but the weirdness lingers, making every creak of the floorboards feel louder. Later, as the night winds down and everyone drifts off to bed, I'm still unsettled. I double-check that the front door is locked, even though I know it is. Our small apartment, which has always felt like a sanctuary, now feels vulnerable. I'm brushing my teeth when I hear it, a faint ringing sound. I freeze, toothpaste dripping into the sink. It's coming from the living room. My heart pounds, and I wipe my mouth, stepping into the hallway. "Liam?" I call out softly, hoping he's just forgotten his phone somewhere. But his door is closed, and I can hear him snoring. Sophie's room is quiet too. I tiptoe into the living room, the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. The ringing continues, muffled but persistent. I trace the sound to the couch, dropping to my knees and reaching under it. My fingers brush against something hard and cold. It's a phone. Not mine, not Sophie's, not Liam's. An unfamiliar, sleek black phone with a cracked screen. I said bakom my yells, my hands trembling. How did this get here? I glance at the screen, and my breath catches. It's unlocked, displaying a series of photos. I swipe through them, horror crawling up my spine. The photos are of us. Sophie on the balcony, Liam asleep on the couch, me sitting at the kitchen table. The timestamps show they were taken over the past week. Someone has been here, watching us. I nearly dropped the phone, a strangled gasp escaping my throat. Sophie's door creaks open, and she peers out, sleepy and annoyed. "What's going on?" she mumbles, rubbing her eyes. I hold up the phone, my voice shaking. "Look at this." Liam stumbles out of his room, groggy and confused, as Sophie takes the phone from me. Her face drains of color as she realizes what she's looking at. How did these get taken?" she whispers. We huddle together, the three of us, the phone between us like a ticking bomb. Liam curses under his breath, panic breaking through his usual calm. "This isn't some prank, right?" I shake my head, dread coiling tighter in my chest. No one's been over, and even if they had, who would do this? The living room feels too exposed, every shadow stretching too far. We grab flashlights and search the apartment, every room, every closet. Nothing, but the feeling of being watched only grows stronger, pressing down on us. Sophie is breathing hard, her voice cracking. Do we call the cops? But what will we tell them? That we found a phone? That we feel like someone's watching us? Then, the phone in her hand lights up. We all jump, and Sophie drops it. The screen flashes with a new text. The words send a chill through me. "You shouldn't have found it." Liam picks up the phone, his hand shaking. "This is insane," he says, his voice strained. "What do we do?" We're too terrified to speak, the silence suffocating. Another text comes through. This one says, "Check the balcony." Sophie lets out a strangled sob, and Liam grabs her hand. The three of us edge toward the glass doors, flashlights cutting through the dark. My hand hovers over the handle, heart pounding so loudly I can barely hear myself think. I slide the door open, the cold night air rushing in. The balcony is empty, but on the small table sits the charger I hid earlier, coiled neatly, waiting for us. Our apartment is supposed to be safe, our home, but now it feels like a trap, one we can't escape. As we stand there, I realize we aren't just being watched. We're being played with, and whoever's doing it is closer than we think. Don't forget to subscribe. You are the best.